I still like
Good?
No, I don't think so. Exactly.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can we all please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Dan Creighton?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Alton?
Present.
Commissioner Creighton?
Present.
Commissioner Acevedo? Commissioner Reckner? Commissioner Brooks?
Present.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Present.
Chairman Morelli?
Present.
Commissioners Acevedo and Reckner are absent. Case number 3246, application of 41 Prospect Street LLC and Fred Galfand of 2941 Charlotte Drive, Merrick, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-113.2A off-street parking curb cut size, 9-113.2G off-street parking. For new off-street parking in the front yard at 555 West Broadway, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 28, Lot 173, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Who will introduce a motion on this application?
Make a motion to grant as per amended plans.
Commissioner Leonetti has introduced a motion to grant. Who will second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Creighton has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant per amended plans.
Commissioner Creighton?
Grant per amended plans.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant as amended plans.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant per amended plans.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant as per the amended plans.
This application has been granted per the amended plans. Case number 3247, application of Sean McDermott of 201 Oak Street, Floral Park, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.5B height, 9-105.5C front yard, to construct a new house at 31 Wisconsin Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 256, Lot 28, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Who will introduce a motion on this application?
I'll make a motion to deny.
Commissioner Creighton has introduced a motion to deny the application. Who will second?
I'll second it.
Chairman Morelli has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Deny.
Commissioner Creighton?
Deny.
Commissioner Brooks?
Deny.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Deny.
Chairman Morelli?
Deny.
This application has been denied. Case number, that's rude. Case number 2979 is being held over till next month. Case number 3251, application of Meredith Courson of 310 Lincoln Boulevard, Long Beach, New York, for a variance from the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 13-82A pool location for a pool installation at 310 Lincoln Boulevard, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 155, Lot 1, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Who will introduce a motion on this application?
Make a motion to grant.
Commissioner Leonetti has introduced a motion to grant the application. Who will second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Brooks has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant.
Commissioner Creighton?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant.
This application has been granted. Case number 3253, application of William Briner of 47 Wyoming Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.5C front yard for a new front yard deck at 47 Wyoming Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 257, Lot 20, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Okay.
Over there.
The applicant's present?
Yeah, there's no mic
Want
over
to just
here,
come up to
so
the mic,
go up
please?
there. I don't know, looks like,
Okay. Can you give us your name and address, please?
Sure. Christina Bravin, Morano Expediting, 2938 Hempstead Turnpike, Levittown, New York, 11756.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you some questions, Christina. So basically, you are here this evening because you want to put a deck or an open porch on the front of this house. First question, was this house a lift, a new construction? Tell me about the house.
The decks that we're proposing are not as a result of a lift. They
Okay,
are.
all right, that's fine.
Oh,
So now, as a result of the lift, I understand you lift the house, and now the deck that was really a front yard now has to go up somewhere. So I'd like to know, first of all, what's the lot size? Is it 30 by 60?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So the house was just lifted, was the house expanded in its footprint? Or just lifted up?
No, it's not in connection with a lift or house expansion.
Okay, but it was a lifted house. It was lifted, right?
No, it's
No,
not
not
in
lifted,
connection to a
okay.
lift.
All right, so tell me about the deck itself. How many feet off the house does the deck come? In other words, what's the width of the deck?
So the proposal is for the second level deck to be 9 foot by 22 foot, which is extending across the entire
Okay,
width of the
so in
home.
other words, the deck now goes out 9 feet from the wall of the house, let's say, and it goes 22 feet. And to be clear, is that 22 feet the width of the home?
Yes.
Okay, so just tell me now, how do they get onto that deck? From the interior of the house, or is there a staircase that goes up?
It would be entrance from interior of the home that exists today.
Okay, so there's like a sliding door kind of thing that goes out onto the deck.
That's correct.
Right, so the deck in no way has its own access?
No,
In
it
other
does
words, from
not.
the outside? Correct?
Yes.
Okay. What's the deck made out of? The deck is made of like a PVC type material or
It'll
like a
be
Trex
Trex.
material? Okay. So the deck starts off, looking at the diagram, the deck starts off because of the way the windows are positioned. Starts off a little bit lower where the sliding doors are above the garage and just steps up a little bit, like 1 or 2 steps it looks like, to the other level of the deck, probably the other half of the house. Am I correct?
Yes, there'll be 2 steps up.
Okay. All right, I don't have any other questions at the present time. Any members of the board? All right, anyone in the audience want to speak in favor or against this project? No? I'll move to grant.
I'll second.
Case number 3253, application of William Briner of 47 Wyoming Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.5C front yard for a new front yard deck at 47 Wyoming Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as section 59, block 257, lot 20, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant the application. Commissioner Creighton has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant.
Commissioner Creighton?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant.
This application has been granted.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Case number 3254, application of Christopher and Cindy Princiata of 514 West Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.3C front yard, 9-05.3D side yard, for new front and rear yard decks at 514 West Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as section 59, block 20, lot 135, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Okay, good evening. Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Princiata, and I'm the homeowner of 514 West Fulton Street.
Okay. Mr. Princiano, what's the lot size?
30 by 100.
Okay. And so now basically, your front yard of 4 inches is due to what? The deck that you're building?
The deck, yes, the deck that I like to build.
Now, was this a house that was altered because of Sandy or any other kind of lifting, or was it a new house?
No, the house I bought was 1 story, and I'm in the process of adding a 2nd story.
Okay, so you didn't actually lift, you just went on top,
I
right?
just went up atop. The house
Okay.
is already FEMA compliant.
Okay. So now my question becomes, why 4 inches? What's the size of the deck coming off the house that makes it only 4 inches?
Well, I have a front bay window on the house, as you can see in the submitted plans,
Yeah?
and from that window to the deck is 10 feet. So
Okay, so basically, when I look at the front of the house where the blue door is, right above it is a window, right? Now, is that a door also?
on
When I
the
look at this photograph here, this is
Yes.
the back?
that is the back.
Okay, so the deck is not going there then? The deck is going in the front?
Yes.
Okay.
There's 2 decks.
Well, there will be a deck in the rear as well.
Okay, so the deck though, in the rear, you're gonna be coming off of that door that's up on the 2nd level, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, that deck, okay, just to be clear, that deck is not the one that requires a variance, am I correct? Or it is? Okay.
The side for that deck, yes, needs a
Okay, the
variance.
side for that deck, because that deck goes out and then over to the side, am I correct?
The deck has been approved for straight back towards the rear.
Right.
fence, but
Yes.
I'm asking for just a few more feet towards the east side.
Okay, and what is that gonna do? I mean, is that just gonna wrap around a little bit?
No, it's just for space for my daughters to be able to play with their toys.
Okay, so basically, to get this straight, the deck goes to the width of the house, which, it's not a really wide house, and the width goes to the end of the house, and then how far does that project from the side of the house?
With the deck that you asked me about with the
Yes,
picture.
the one in the rear,
The one in the rear goes,
because that's the one you need the side yard variance for, correct?
yes,
Okay,
that deck in the rear goes 10 feet out off the house and will be extra recreational space for the children to play with. I have
Okay,
a 4-year-old and a
so-
3-year-old.
so that deck going off the house then reduces your rear yard setback
It's a
Side
to only a foot. The side yard setback to only a foot.
Why don't we look at each deck separately?
Okay.
So it's not as
Okay.
confusing. So on the front of the house, you have 10 feet clear from the bay window going forward towards the street.
From the bay window to the front of the deck is 10 feet.
Right.
I have stairs to access my front door.
Right.
That's attached to the deck, and then it will give me access so I can have enough
Right.
room to have,
And that one does not extend beyond the profile of the house. It matches the width of the house. Now,
Yes, the-
Typically, we hold decks like that back a foot from the property line. Where do you come up with 4 inches for that one?
well, because off the front bay window, 10 feet makes it 4 inches off the
Right, but we're
property
saying,
line.
can you reduce it? So that what Commissioner Leonetti is saying is that
10 foot
traditional.
10 foot is plenty of deck, plus it's even deeper on either side of the bay window, so.
Yeah.
uh,
And we,
I would recommend you considering making it a foot off, like.
Okay.
We've
I
been
will
going with 8
gladly do
feet.
that,
Understood.
a foot
We've
off
been
the front,
Yeah.
Okay.
the
Yeah,
front
but
part.
it doesn't reduce it by that much of usable space, but many people are doing decks, let's say 8 to 9 feet.
Yes,
So because, in just keeping with what has been kind of customary, let's say,
okay,
is that people have been putting the decks 1 foot from the property line, and the footings 2 feet in from that 1 foot. So, yeah, but the 2 feet from the end of the deck.
I will
So it makes
gladly
it-
do
So it
that.
makes the footings 3 feet from the property line. So
Okay,
that's what
I will
we're
do it.
recommending that you might want to consider, because that is more in keeping with what the board has been, hearing, and what they've been presenting, and what we've been approving,
Okay.
It just seems like, 10 feet is nice, but it leaves us with the arbitrary number of 4 inches, and, I think we could improve that, okay?
And also, this is not the West End. In
Right,
this
I was gonna
area,
say.
we've denied decks larger than 8
Right,
feet just
right.
recently. So,
Right.
I mean, the front, we've been trying to
Yes,
keep to 8
absolutely.
feet.
Now, everybody's satisfied with the answers on the front deck, right? So we can move back to the rear or the side yard setback, right? So now, the side yard just concerns me a little bit, because honestly, I know 5 feet is not a lot of setback to ask, in homes in that area, and I know in the West End it's 4. So the thing is now, basically you're eating up, a little bit, and, you're going to a foot of the property line, let's say. What abuts you on that side? What's next to you?
It's my neighbor's fence is the
Okay.
property line. His fence is 10 feet high, and there's trees there already. I could barely even see into his backyard, and
Okay.
it would be because do you see the stairs going back down? That is where my shower is, my outside shower. So it's nice access to the shower as well.
Okay.
So you
Can-
have three sets of stairs on that deck. Does
Correct.
that make sense?
Yes.
Why, I don't see a burning need for the deck to project beyond the profile of the house. It's still a very big deck, and I don't see why a variance would be necessary to expand your deck to the property line. Can you explain why you need?
Well, I wanted to have that area so my girls can play with their toys. They're 3, 4 years old, enough area for recreation for them to play there, so we can watch them from inside the house as well. And the deck, the door, all the stairs will have doors on it.
so can I ask you why you're not considering extending it in the other direction, since you have 3 foot 4 inches left between the edge of the stairs and the profile of your house on the other side. So why take up the room?
Because on that side, there's a door entrance to the crawl space, and that would cover my door then.
Even if you just brought it out at the line of the exterior rear part of the house and you left that other piece open, so where you see, I don't know how wide it is, but where the window is where I'm assuming your access door is to your crawl space in your basement.
Yes.
But you still have, if you brought the deck further from where those stairs are, that set of stairs it's on, I guess it's your, was it west side of the house? You still have another 3 foot 4 inches there, so why need a variance for 3 foot 10 inches on one side when you could extend it 3 foot 4 inches on the other side?
Because that side is actually part of my driveway as well, and that's where the access to the garage is.
Gotcha.
And then I won't be able to put my vehicle back there. There won't be enough room for a car. So that's why I was hoping to shift the deck towards the property line on the other side.
Gotcha.
How wide is this deck? It's very faded down here. How wide is it in the back?
It looks like 18 foot 10 and a half inches, is that
I
right?
mean, 15 feet is a very wide deck. I'm just,
Well, if you lop off the part that extends beyond the house, it's still about approximately 12 feet by 12 feet.
yeah,
Yeah.
Quite a large deck.
yeah.
I'm not hearing a reason why,
Yeah.
why you need the variance for adding the deck on the side, other than you would like it. Everybody would like to have the biggest house they can possibly have.
Yes.
But there has to be like a reason for us to grant something beyond the code.
Well, I just wanted to have more room for my kids to play on the deck.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids, they're 3 and 4 years old.
Right. Okay.
But where is the access to your crawl space when you're talking about? Isn't this deck out away from the footprint of the house?
No,
Is the access to crawl space that space in that little alcove there?
Yes.
So the deck can still go further left without interrupting with that?
There's a regular sized door there. It used to be, before the house was made FEMA compliant, it used to be a 2-story family house, and the previous owner filled it in with concrete, and the door is still there to access the crawl space. So there's no livable space down there, but there's just a door there.
But it still seems like you could architecturally do something like even push that staircase out a little bit and get a little bit more space on that side without taking from the other side of the house, which is really, as everyone's saying, a little over the top.
I mean, you have 3 sets of stairs there too, would you need that?
It's a lot of stairs.
Do you need both stairs going to the rear? You could get an extra 4 foot on that side if you got rid of those stairs. And then that would negate the need for a variance on the other side of the house.
Yes, I just put the stairs there so I could come off the deck and go towards the shower after using the beach and stuff with the kids, instead of having to walk all the way around the whole property with them.
So take that back staircase and
Turn it
rotate it sideways, so this way you can go right towards your shower.
I'm confused on which stairs you're,
The very back one. It's going straight out. If that were just running parallel to your deck, you would be in the path of going to your shower. You're dealing with a few feet here.
okay?
Just a thought, trying to get you off that side and give you more deck.
Okay.
Do you think you might want to modify the plan? I mean, we don't have to vote on it,
No,
tonight.
I don't mind doing that to the stairs over there, move it so we can move forwardly. It'd be really helpful if I can get it approval tonight, because
It would be, but, this front deck is especially difficult. We've turned down people who've been really upset with decks like this recently, and I don't even know, I'm not even sure how this compares to the rest of the houses in your block, but, I mean, you should have an 8-foot deck in the front of the house. We don't encourage this, just don't need, you've got a back deck, It's not like a West End home where we do make these exceptions because they got nothing in the back.
All right, well, does anybody else have any comments? Because then I'll hear from the audience. Anybody want to speak in favor? or against? Okay, well, so if anybody wants to make a motion or have an amended plan, I mean, you know.
I'd just like to make another comment, repeat the comment that I said before. I don't see anything that would impel us to grant that side yard variance. I mean, I'm not
agree.
seeing any reason other than, you know, they would like a bigger deck. You know, it's still a
Okay.
big deck. You know, the one in the front doesn't bother me so much if we get it back to match, you know, the other ones, because there was an existing deck there, not as big.
Mhm.
And, you know, so like a 1-foot setback on the front, I wouldn't have a problem. But
Well, we'll check out with.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, sir.
Why go to the property line on the other side? You have to give us a reason to issue a
I
variance.
thought having extra recreational space for my daughters to play in.
I understand, but lots of people have decks much smaller than what you're proposing here.
Yes.
12 by 12 is a very healthy deck. A lot of people end up with an 8 by 12 or something, so.
Okay, so
I don't see why we should grant the side.
I'm fine with that. And I agree that I'll move back the front to a foot off the property line like you asked, and then I'm happy with that.
Okay, and cut the back deck back in line with the house.
Yes, sure.
I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, if we can describe that well enough, if we do agree about it. I know Barry has a question about the front deck also.
Yeah. I mean, you know, a 30-foot, we have 100 feet here, but a 30-foot wide property is not a particularly wide property, whether, you know, it's a 60, which is the west end, or it's 100, which is East Home. You know, 30 is still 30, you know, it's a narrow house.
Does
I
this
mean, how
have a
much can you
shared,
build on a
is this
30?
a shared driveway?
Yes,
I'm
it's a
not
shared
opposed
drive.
It's,
to the front.
Rocco, these are shared driveway homes where.
It's a shared driveway, so that's why I'm trying to leave space on the other side, so I could at least get my car back there on my side of the shared driveway. And
Can I ask you, how far does your neighbor's deck come out from the house? Or how far off the property line is your neighbor's deck? Do you know?
I'm not positive, but the characteristics are very similar.
That's the main things, that you don't push out farther than other decks in your
Yep.
neighborhood. That's really what it's about.
You know, it's only about a 4-foot high deck, Barry, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I see that.
It's not, it doesn't look imposing to me, you know?
And the stairs cut into the deck?
I'm just thinking about recent cases where people were
Yeah, I also.
pretty upset with our denial.
Yeah, because
That's
the
all. I
neighbors-
don't wanna-
My steps are also like
In this neighborhood,
integrated
by the
into
way,
the deck
block
in the
away.
front there so I can get access to the front door.
Yeah.
I have existing steps already, like 6 steps to get into my house. My house was never raised, it's just,
Yeah, we understand that.
okay.
It looks like the neighbor's house would have needed a variance, right? to get-
Couldn't hear you, Barry.
Looks like the neighbor's house would have needed a variance in order to put their decks in. I don't.
Yes, because the front of my house, anything off the front of the house on my block would need a variance.
So I would probably go with variance. I wouldn't want it to go any further out than the neighbor's house. Because if we granted a variance for the neighbor's house, we should be consistent with that. If we made them stay, 4 foot back from the property line, we shouldn't go any further than 4 foot back on this one. If it was 1 foot, then it would be then I would grant 1 foot, but I wouldn't want to go any further than what we gave the other variance for the neighbor's
Yeah,
house.
because we probably, everyone wants as much as possible, but it's challenging to set a precedent that results in a domino effect across the whole neighborhood.
Or that's inconsistent with what we've given before, and then have like a dispute.
Well, my house is a little different than my neighbor's house. His was raised, and I have an existing bay window that's part of the first floor already, and I'm just trying to get the characteristics of the deck the same as my neighbors and the people who live on my block.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
No, your neighbor's deck is not that, it's the neighbor's deck's like an 8-foot deck, it might even be less.
You know, their house is raised and have access from the inside. Mine is part of the front.
But we're not questioning the front, we're questioning the back, right? Barry's question in the front.
Barry and Dan's question.
Oh, front, okay.
All right.
I'm not sure.
We don't have your neighbor's deck depth, but I think if you amended to take off the side and the back and come back to what the blocks profiles are, it looks to me like you've got 8-foot decks on the block.
Yeah, I mean,
Might even
I'm
be
just,
less.
I'm just looking at a Google Earth
Yep, that's what
of the
he's,
entire block, and I'm not really seeing decks that go down to the property line, or even like a foot
right.
on
This is
West
something we
Fulton.
do in the West End because they've got 30 by 60 plots.
You know?
It's a
I
different.
mean, you know,
different-
the decks that I see on West Fulton here are, you know, the 500 block. I don't really see any that go to the property line. And then I'm looking in the back of the neighbor's yard. And just a question, Ms. Princiata, your deck on your house, now, where would that deck go relative to, there's a house, not the house right next to yours, but the house 2 houses away from yours, looks like going west, has a fairly substantial deck in the back. Is your deck gonna, and looks like stairs maybe, is your deck gonna go beyond their deck?
I don't believe so, but I'm
You
not.
know the
also-
house I'm talking about, right?
I'm not gonna have stairs that connect the decks. It's just,
Okay, because that house looks like it has connecting stairs.
it does,
I mean, this is what I'm looking at right now on Google Earth.
yes, it does have connecting stairs, and my deck characteristics are about the same. I'm not sure exactly
Okay.
their decks.
And you said that's a shared driveway, right?
Correct.
Yeah, the 30 wides are all shared driveways in the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
But my neighbor has a raised house now and has a garage and a curb cut for his car right in front of his house now.
But it's only the side yard that we're looking at for the back deck.
Yeah.
Right, right.
That's right.
Yeah, so it would be very helpful if we could figure this out tonight, because I'm trying to move into the house. I'm covering 2 mortgages, and as the time moves on, it's gonna get colder, and I'm not gonna be able to, I need to try to keep construction going before it gets really cold.
Yeah,
Okay, so basically what the question is proposed here is we would be eliminating, in the rear yard, we would be eliminating the protrusion past the line of the house. On the front of the deck, there's still, front deck, there's still discussion as to how much the deck should protrude.
We should
We
grant
already
8
know
feet
that
tonight,
if the
but-
deck now comes to give us, instead of 4 inches, 1 foot, we've reduced the deck from 10 feet to about 9 feet, 2 inches? So we've chopped off
Which
about
seems
8
to
inches
be
on the
deeper
deck.
than the adjacent house.
Right.
The only difference here is he has that big window that protrudes.
Yeah, I understand, but it's more this, you know, when you're on the sidewalk and looking down the street, suddenly you got this one deck that's sticking out more than everybody else. It's just, and we all know that that's something we try to prevent.
If the problem becomes, though, honestly, which we also have to consider, the practicality of even having a deck in the first place, because when you have anything that's, 5 feet off your house, like, what are you really gonna do?
No,
I
but
mean-
8 feet is a good
Okay,
size for
okay.
sitting down. You
Yeah.
know, you don't want to.
I mean, you can't have less
You don't
than
want your
that,
front deck to be a big party room
because
with
otherwise, why
tables.
bother?
Yeah. mhm, yeah.
A table itself is like, 4 feet across, and then, you put a couple of chairs around it, where are you gonna sit? So, I mean, I would not necessarily wanna see, a 9-foot, 2-inch deck even, but less than 8 feet, I don't think would work for anybody. And
No.
the people, unfortunately, that did that, I mean, I don't know
How
what
does
they're
it sound
getting
like
out
8
of it.
feet from the bay window?
That would be
instead
fine with
of-
me.
Yeah, instead of the 10 foot, which it's now, which we were gonna knock down to 9 foot before.
That'd be fine with
but
me.
8 feet from the bay window, I think, could be justified as different from the ones in the.
Yeah.
A bay window usually comes off about a foot, right? Off
Sorry?
a bay window usually comes
Well,
off
this
about a
one's
No,
foot.
this is
This is 45.
it's like
This
it's
is a
more
deep
of
one.
like a inside nook. There's actual floor there. It's not just a window. Inside the house, there's
Yeah, look at
flooring.
this, yeah.
I am looking forward to eating dinner and meals with my family on the front deck.
It's not a foot.
So, Mr. Cristiano, what I think we're thinking is a reasonable compromise is 8 feet from the front of the
Yeah,
building.
well, it has to be 8 foot.
Okay.
To the front deck,
Huh?
and in line with the house on the
I know, you're right.
back.
Yes, 8
Yeah.
feet from the front of the bay window, off the front of the bay window,
I
8
don't-
feet. I will
If-
gladly
if-
agree to
if-
that.
Everyone's talking at once.
Hold on.
Everyone's talking at once. Denise can't get it done. Everyone's talking at one time.
Oh,
Yeah, so
let me just,
now we're gonna go 8 feet from the
Mike, if we go 8,
end us up about,
Because the house.
it's gonna be about 2 feet from
Huh?
it's gonna go about like 2 feet from this property line. What's that? It'll be deeper on the sides.
Yeah, but I'm saying is you can't go big window, because a big window's already out.
Well, yeah, but then
Feet from the big window, it's gonna go to 10
if
feet.
you do 8 feet from here, it's gonna be.
From the line,
It's gonna
yeah.
be, it's gonna be unusable.
I wouldn't mind agreeing to 8
well-
feet off the bay window.
So
We
do
would
we-
have to certainly, word this properly so that the deck doesn't end up being bigger than it needs to be, because the bay window, what we're saying, what the commissioners is saying is that the bay window is not just a 1 foot, bay window off the house. It looks like a fairly substantial bay window when we look at it from above, on the perspective of a
Yes.
Google Earth. So the concern is if we gave you 8 feet from that bay window, it would really be more like 10 feet or more from the line of the house without the bay window.
Okay.
So we can't really go,
I believe that my neighbors have at least 10 feet off the house, because their top decks are like 8 feet off the house.
yeah, but their house also sits back further than yours.
No, they're in the same,
I don't see
front-
that
It
here.
does, it's not a 10-foot deck to your next door neighbors. You can see
No,
on Google
no way.
Earth, it's not.
But their house sits further back from the property line. If I'm looking at this house, I guess it would be to your west. They've got 2 decks, but your house sits back
where
substantially.
my front door is in line with their front door, sir.
That can't be. Well, this is what I would propose. I think that what we need to do to make this, something that doesn't end up becoming something we really didn't want, is I think we really need to specify what we want the deck to be from the property line. Instead of debating, with the bay window and how many feet it's going to be off the house, I think we need to discuss how many feet we want the deck to end up from the property line.
Well, right now,
This way
he's
there's
over
no
12.
question that, it was 8 feet from the bay window, it was 8 feet from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
line of the sight line of the house, other than the bay window. So I think what we need to do is establish, based on what is consistent with the other properties, we need to establish what would be consistent as an amount we could approve from the property line.
Plans show,
Yeah. That deck is not
Can I-
proper. That deck is good.
can I,
We could go either, we're gonna just, you can flip it back. You can see there's a substantial distance.
can I ask a legal question? Can we make a motion that does not give an exact depth, but says no further than the adjacent property's deck? Is that allowed, or do we have to give a specific depth of the deck? So if we said to make a motion to grant the front yard variance as long as the deck does not protrude further than the adjacent neighbor's deck, and then deny the the side yard variance, is that?
I think it's too up in the air.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
without that
that's what I was
information
thinking.
in front of us,
Dan,
I don't see how
if
we
you
can-
look, here, if you want to come up, if you look, okay, see, his house sits back differently than the other house. This house is further back, front of the house itself. And when you flip it, and look at this side, I think that is certainly further than a foot from the property line. Yeah, but I don't know what, you know, the proportions, it doesn't look like a 10-foot deck. Definitely not. Yeah, so, but we don't know, since we don't have a survey, we don't know what the neighbors, both neighbors, these two neighbors here, so I'm gonna say, would that be like 516 and 518? Do you know if the two houses next door to you are 516 and 518?
The one right to my west is definitely 516, I'm not
Okay,
positive.
so let's assume that they're 516 and 518. It looks to me, and just tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks to me like 516 and 518, at least from an aerial view, their decks stick out fairly close to each other in terms of their distance to the sidewalk. Maybe the lower deck on 516 sticks out a little more.
The
but
lower
top
deck on 516 definitely sticks out further than the top one.
Okay.
I'm gathering from the survey that the house is 15 feet back from the property line.
The house, yeah, the front of the house, yeah.
Yes.
So-
Except the bay window projects into that.
Yeah, I'm just talking about not including the bay window.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the 10-foot dimension that you're talking about from the bay window on the plans.
I'm
Yeah.
The 10-foot dimension that you mentioned from the bay window, I don't see that on the plans.
It's not on the plans because I didn't set it up to be like that.
I'm concerned about the ambiguity here, you know, like,
My recommendation, my name is Joe Rubel, I'm one of the attorneys for the city of Long Beach, and I really appreciate your situation as far as having two mortgages and one construction loan, but I think that, I mean, it's up to the zoning board. My recommendation would be to submit amended plans, so there isn't really a question of, you know, the setback off the property line versus how far from the bay window, because it really doesn't need to be concrete.
Okay.
The dimension that is here shows 14 feet from the face of the house.
Yes.
But there's no dimension on the bay window there.
It's roughly between 3 and 4 feet.
I understand this, so there's no dimension, 3 or 4 feet, there's a big difference there.
Yes.
For the front yard,
But if,
we almost have to get a dimension
we gotta
and
see
the neighbor's house
And I don't.
and compare it to
I
that.
think as per council's advice, I think we'd be, you know, as much as we want to help, you know, Mr. Princiano and just do the right thing, because that's our obligation. I think if council's advising that we got to see amended plans, I think we could be making a mistake if we just approve something and
Yeah.
it's really not what we should
We
have
don't
approved.
really know, yeah.
So I would want to hold off, I'm sorry, you know, we don't want to hurt your, you know, your situation. I know it's, you know, it's tough, but
Are we allowed to amend for the back deck alone, or does it have to stay in as one application?
oh, it's one
So we can get
application.
started.
Let's do it all at one time.
We can't split the application.
I'm just thinking about him getting started.
No, I know, I
I think
understand.
in good faith, you can trust that the back will be approved based on the amendments we talked about, but with the front, we have to.
Well,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you were saying, sir.
I'm sorry, is this not working?
Barry,
it would be denied.
Barry,
Okay.
I think that front and rear decks, an amended
they have to
plan.
stay as one case.
Yeah, it's one case, and you know
We
what?
can't split it up.
Respect, I mean, if Mr. Princiano starts construction now, I mean, in good faith, he could be sided.
If we were able to come up with some kind of
Yeah,
agreement
no,
tonight,
we're not gonna do that. I think, let's just make it official now, because we can't keep debating this all night. The case has to be held over, Mr. Princiano, just amend the plan, submit it to the board. You know, I think we've kind of guided you really above and beyond what we think would be more reasonable. You know, present it, mail it in, send it in, however you want to send it in. We will view it before the next meeting, next time, and next month we'll vote on it.
okay, so.
I mean, unfortunately, you know, you're gonna lose about 3.5 weeks, but I think we have to do that.
Okay, so you're more concerned about the front deck And then the
Well,
the
we discussed a few things. I mean, we discussed the side deck, you know, coming off the house. The board felt that that was excessive. The board felt that, you know, there was a concern about how much the front deck comes off the house, bay window notwithstanding, in excess of what the neighbors have, and keeping it in character with the rest of the neighborhood. So you might want to, you know, measure how far from the property line your neighbors are, and you might want to keep in line with what your neighbors have.
If I agree right now just to stay in line with my neighbors,
I
can we
don't
go
know if we
forward?
can do that as a number, though. I don't think, you know, counsel says no. So he's our legal counsel, you know, who basically advises the board on what's, we're not attorneys. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah,
And
neither am
what's
I. I'm a
legal
New
or
York
not,
City
so I have to
fireman.
go with what the counsel
My wife's a
says.
respiratory therapist. I'm a New York City fireman. I'm just trying to make my dream house for my kids
Well,
and stuff.
I'm so, Mr. Princiotti, I'm
You'll
really
still be
sorry.
able to do
We
that.
feel for
You'll
you.
still be able to do that. It may take
A
a couple
month.
more weeks.
It's gonna take a month, you know? I mean, you know, we're all paying bills too, and we know what it's like, especially at the sand. And the thing is that we just can't do what we can't do legally, you know, and we have to follow the law. We're not looking to hurt anybody. As a matter of fact, you know, we wanna help when we can. And, you know, we really don't even have an obligation to have to guide people. You know, we could just say yes or no. And I think we go above and beyond many times to help the applicants out because, you know, our heart goes out to everybody. We're in the same boat.
Yes.
None of us are rich yet. And the thing is, we're working people. And the thing is that we have to do the right thing though by the law. And so if we start changing things around, you know, every month somebody's gonna come up and say, you did it for this guy, now you gotta do it for me. So we have to try to be consistent. I'm sorry. I mean, I know it stinks, it's a month, but in the big picture, it's a month. And hopefully everything will get squared away, and in a month, you know, things will move along.
So if I submit amended plans,
Submit them to the secretary, right? You
Yes.
can submit them next week if you want. The problem is, we can't vote till the next meeting. So
Okay.
legally, you know, we have legal constraints we gotta work with. So we can't vote on it till the October meeting.
okay,
And, what's that?
I would just suggest two things. One, take out that side yard in the rear, and in the front, make sure it doesn't extend any further than your neighbor's deck. Those
Okay.
are the two things I would say for me to vote on. I don't want to speak for anyone else.
And we'll check on it when, we'll be ready to vote next month. Okay?
all right, thank
All
you
right,
for your
thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Case number 3255, application of Stephen Kaplan of 137 Greenwood Road, Lido Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.2C front yard, for a new front yard stairs at 320 Pacific Boulevard, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 215, Lot 67, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Okay, are the applicants present? Mr. Kaplan? Joe? Mr. Bell, are you doing this case or no? Mr. Kaplan's present? No? All right, let's move on to the next case.
Who was that? Case number 3256, application of Francine Farragher of 93 Ohio Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.5C front yard, 9-105.5D side yard, for a new FEMA-compliant house at 35 Arizona Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 261, Lot 26, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening, Mr. Cohen.
Good evening, Scott Cohen, 30 West Park Avenue, Suite 202, Long Beach, New York, of Councilor Kenneth Apple, representing the applicant here, and we're seeking two variances from the building code for front yard and side yard. With respect to the front yard, the code provides for, in the west end, a 10-foot front yard setback, or if a house is being lifted, a deck that goes 1 foot to the line, and the posts cantilevered back 3 feet. This is not a new construction. This is not a lift. This is a new construction. But the client is proposing a front deck consistent with the code. The leading edge of the deck will be 1 foot from the line. The post will be cantilevered back 3 feet from the line. So it is within the parameters of what this board has approved, even on new construction. With respect to the side yard, the applicant is proposing a limited side yard setback of 25 feet. This is necessary for the set of stairs that will start about 28 feet back from the property line, run up one level to a landing. The landing is roughly 7 by 3.5 feet. There is a door at the end, and they need the extra space on there so the door swings open and they have a place to safely stand in order to gain access into the property. This too is something that this board has routinely approved in the West End. It is not an extensive request. The applicant has done everything within their powers to design a home within the building code. They're not seeking height. They're not seeking any other setbacks along the sides. The house that is being demolished is currently non-compliant with the side yard setbacks, though minimally. It's under 4 feet on each side, and there is a set of stairs in the back of the house that's going to be coming out. So that is what we're doing, or what we're proposing, and seeking approval from this board.
Okay, so just a couple of quick questions. The property is a 30 by 60?
That is correct.
Okay. So the deck then runs the entire width of the house, and then on the side of it, there's a staircase then that would lead up to that deck?
No.
Okay, so
The
explain that.
staircase that's on the side will lead to the back door of the house,
Okay,
which is, it's not at the back corner, it's a little bit before the back corner. But the the only way to access that front deck will be from within the house itself.
right, I understand. Okay, so then basically the back deck, okay, I understand where the side is going to the back door. All right, I don't have any questions right now. Any members of the board?
There's no internal stair at all. There's no, it's the only way to get up to the living area of the house, is the stair on the outside?
Well, there
Or the
is,
elevator?
there is an elevator.
Yeah.
There is an elevator.
So there's no stair at all?
Leading from the ground. I didn't see it in the plans, but then again, I'm not an architect.
I take my word for it.
I just play one on TV.
There's no internal staircase?
From the ground up, correct. Between the first living floor and the second living floor, there is.
Yeah.
Scott, oh, go ahead.
So where the two cars are shown, that's basically a carport. It's open to the air?
Correct. It is, and the cars will be wholly underneath the house, so they're not going to, there's no chance of them exceeding, encroaching into the sidewalk. And behind that will be storage.
Well, the decks, although not legal by the code, are certainly within character of everything else in the neighborhood because there's so many houses listed.
If this was a lift, we wouldn't be here for the front deck. We would just be here for the side.
So it's, in my mind, it's within the character of the neighborhood, even though, you know, it requires a variance. So I don't really have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You know, why there's no internal stair and the stair has to be mounted on the outside is,
Good question.
yeah.
Scott, I have the same question. I have no issue with the front deck, and if it was a lift, I would almost have no issue with the side stairs, but since this is a new build, I don't understand why in that entry foyer, they didn't just put a stair as well as the elevator inside it, so you don't need that side yard variance at all. It's just out of curiosity, I don't really
The only thing that I could come up with is that it would take away floor space on that first floor.
Of course.
It's not a tremendous, you know, the client's not asking, she could have come here designed, you know, blowing the house much higher. She's totally within the code with respect to the height. And it's a secondary access. It's a means of ingress and egress. And again, many of the houses on that block, new construction and lifts, have side staircases. It's not like we're looking to build a catwalk. It's a modest platform, like I said, roughly 7 by 3.5. And again, this is within the character of the neighborhood.
stairs from the lower level to the ground level were right below the stair that goes up to the second floor, you wouldn't be losing any floor space at all.
Yep.
Again, this is the design that the architect came up with, and as I've said before, it is consistent with houses on this block. I believe the house immediate to the south has a very similar staircase layout.
Is that a lift?
Is it lift?
I do not know.
Probably
I
is.
just,
There's a good reason on a lift, because you'd have to redo the whole interior.
On many lifts, there have been, I've brought cases where they've installed new rear doors that have had stairs and decks. So this is not, again, it's affecting the back third of the property, roughly. It's not up to the sidewalk. It's and the access to the stairs could be from under the house as well. It's not totally blocking any access to the rear yard in case of an emergency, because on the south side, there is nothing. It's open. And the neighboring house to the north, which is occupied by my client's aunt, all that's there is a fence. So it's not a matter of staircases that are abutting each other.
I agree, it's not out of character. It just kills me when we're building new houses that we're asking for variances that could be solved through the design, but.
I understand that, but again, you know, the only real variance that she's asking for is the side yard. Because again, the front yard,
Agree.
99% of the homes in the West End have this deck.
I have no issue with the front yard at all.
Right, so she's not asking for height, she's not asking for a roof deck, we're not asking to encroach into the rear yard, we're not asking to have steps come right to the property line, where, you know,
But
in the
you're
front.
asking for a side
You know,
yard.
Mr. Cohen, we appreciate that, we do. I mean, we think it's very noble that, you know, she's trying to work de minimis on the thing, but the question that came up, and Commissioner Leonetti basically asked the question, is if you're building a brand-new house and you're designing it, why can't you just design the staircase into the house? I mean, it's going to eat up some room, you know, and that's the answer. We all know this. It's going to eat up a little room.
And-
So if it's going to eat up a little room, that's sad.
In this
But
case-
in
in
the
this case, it's
same,
not even- it's not even
no,
gonna
you
eat
know,
up room.
vein,
It's not
why do
even
we need
much,
to keep
what you're
imposing
saying.
on the neighbors? I mean, you
Well,
know, I don't, and I know it's, you know, allowed. I know we've allowed it in lifts and stuff like that, but, you know, it's becoming worse than Queens. I mean, we can't have every new house, you know, with a, you know, protrusion that goes right to the property line, and you got two houses next to each other where you have protrusions butting up against each other. It's horrific. I mean, and the thing is, it's not, you know, it's not in character with what should be a suburban neighborhood. It's not Queens.
It's hard to avoid the lift, but that doesn't mean that we're
Right,
okay with it.
and, you know, I know that
and-
people
and
that
by
are
the way, this
building it, they
picture
want to
shows the house-
maximize their space. but
To
you-
address the
you can't
question
always
of why
do
it
at the
can't go
expense of
inside.
everybody else.
If those steps were inside, that would encroach into the parking area.
How so?
It would minimize that on one half of the house, or one side of the house.
There's a way to do it. I mean, I've seen it in several homes. That's not.
Plus they have an
There's-
elevator.
There's a way to do it.
There's a way to do everything.
Yeah.
But this was in knowing the architect, this is probably the most cost-efficient way of preparing the house. And again, you are familiar with the architect. He presents many, you know, provides many designs before this board, and he always designs as close to the code as possible. So again, we're really only asking for one area, which is this side yard.
Except that that area is also next to a bungalow that's not lifted from this picture, which is also kind of challenging for the neighbor, I think. That's looks like.
One of the criteria is there's no other way to accomplish what you need to do. Am I correct?
Yes.
There is a way to accomplish that.
But that is not the determining factor in all this. That is one of 5 factors. And again, this is well within the, what has been approved by this board and what is well within the character of this neighborhood, the West End, the entire West End. So this does not create an undesirable change. It's not like we're, again, abutting a stairway to a stairway where you can knock on the window and borrow a cup of sugar. That's not the case here.
But
You
you
know,
are abutting a bungalow that's not lifted with probably a living room window facing that staircase.
Well, the bungalow that it is abutting is my client's aunt.
That's irrelevant.
Yeah, because,
Well, but if,
you know,
no,
that
it
could
becomes
change.
relevant if you're using it as a sword against me. I have to be able to use it as a shield. So where we're standing now, it is truly a non-factor because that property owner does not object, and she'll come up here and testify to that. I know the board cannot legislate what will happen in the future. None of us can predict what will happen in the future. But as we stand now, this is a design that is within the parameters of what has been routinely approved.
I don't know that we've routinely approved them on
New builds.
new construction. On raised houses, it's going to look just like the rest of the stuff in the neighborhood. But the board has been trying to have the architect stick with, when it's a new house, not do any variances. Now, you haven't given me a reason. Somebody's going to come to us and say, well, why'd you give this guy a variance? And I don't have a good reason. It could very easily accommodate the stair inside and wouldn't lose any
Well, you
any
would
floor
lose,
space.
at the way the house is designed, you would lose floor space and you would lose
No, you
parking.
wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You put the stair right below the existing, the new stair.
It would,
showing.
it would
losing-
Move the
encroach.
cars back about 3-4 feet, yeah.
And
plenty
then we have a potential issue where they're going to be hanging out onto the sidewalk.
of- No, look how
So
much room
this-
you have there.
Nope.
So again, this is not a substantial variance. If we were coming to you asking for height and asking for setbacks on all sides of the house, I would think that we have an issue, but I do not. I have presented, and I'll gladly provide you a list of cases of new construction in the West End where these types of stairs have been approved on the back of the house, at the front of the house, and on both sides of the house.
Not for new construction.
All right, you know what? We're going to go back and forth with this. We've got other cases I want to hear. I think we're going to hold this over. And I think what's going to happen is, you know, Mr. Cohen can present us some case numbers that we can look at of new constructions that we may have approved in side yard setbacks like this, because I don't want to go back and forth with this. And then we can have a chance to look at it. This isn't something we should decide, you know, with a snap of a finger. And I think we should hold the case over. So I think we've heard enough discussion. I'm going to ask from the audience. But I think, you know, the presentation, we get it. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak for or against? You want to speak against? Come on up. All right, so let's get cut. But you understand, we're holding the case over, so if there are any unanswered questions tonight too, you know, you can get any information. Give us your name. Just go over to that mic, please. Give us your name and address, and just tell us what you want us to hear.
My name is Gina Bernstein. I'm at 31 Arizona Avenue.
Just, can you get up a little closer to the mic? You might be able to pull the mic over to you a little bit. Yeah.
So I'm too short.
No, I'm the same.
My name is Gina Bernstein. I'm at 31 Arizona Avenue. I just wanted to clarify the front deck because there was an understanding. One of our neighbors called, I guess, the building department and asked for specifics on the variances being filed and went around to other neighbors and explained it and had something signed by several neighbors, and he was unable to come because he was working and gave me the paper since I was coming to get a better understanding and asked me to submit this. So I have this in addition to submit. In terms, do you want to give this?
Can you read what it says?
We're not on a piece of paper, but we just came to have questions answered. I don't really understand the front, so I'm just trying to clarify, because we had put a deck on our house several years ago, 12 years ago, and there were certain limitations that now have been extended to houses that have been lifted, that they can protrude more on their decks. I have that understanding. So are they going to go beyond that 10 feet that we're limited to on the deck, or are they staying within that range with the new construction?
They're proposing the front deck to be
The standard
1 foot from the property line.
with the footings 3 feet from the back.
Setback.
Okay, so the actual, excuse me? So why is there a variance? Because he keeps
Because-
saying, he keeps
Okay,
saying that
because
he's
we
in
grant
compliance with
that,
everything, then why are you
but the
filing?
building code still prohibits anything that comes to 1 foot. In other words, that does not meet the code, okay? So putting up a deck 1 foot from your property line, you can't do it by right. So what happens is if you want that, right, then you have to, because let's say the setback is 5 feet, let's just say.
Right.
Without coming to the board, you can build a deck
Yeah, but their question,
that's
we're
5
doing
feet from
this
your
for
property
years.
line, you don't need our permission. But because one person now wants to maximize their space, everybody wants to maximize
Exactly.
their space. The code hasn't been changed. So what happens is if you want to put a deck on your home, a lift, not even a lift, but you feel like putting a deck on the front of your house. If you're going to build to 1 foot of the property line and those posts, the footings, 2 feet in from the end of your deck, which makes the footings 3 feet from the property line. You get me so far, right? 1 foot from inside the property line, the posts are 2 feet in from that, so your posts are 3 feet from your property line. You can't do that as of right. Just because everybody has been, let's say, getting those variants granted, if the code hasn't been changed, the code is still the code. So if you want to do that, you can come to the board and
Right.
say, well, you know, we'd like to do this to our home, and you have allowed it for, you know, X, Y, and Z, and so can you now allow this
So
to
they're
us?
essentially looking for 1 extra foot beyond what the limits are?
No, they're looking to get what we would grant in many occasions, which is 1 foot from the property line. Now, depending on where your house sits, right? Your house could be a little further back from the property
Right,
line.
right.
So that may be that your deck ends up being 10 feet. Somebody's house may sit a little more forward towards the property line. Their deck may end up being 7 feet because their house is closer to the property line. So what we're saying is, we don't want your deck to come right to the property line. We want your deck to be 1 foot off the property line. In essence, we don't really care how wide your deck is as much as that it doesn't come beyond 1 foot from the property line. So if your house is, you know, 10 feet back from the property line, you got a 9-foot deck. If your house is 6 feet from the property line, you got a 5-foot deck. That's what it comes down to.
So this house would still be 10 feet back from the sidewalk? The house, the structure?
Yeah, the
house
the
itself.
structure is where it is. The structure is where it
Well,
is. The
then anyway,
structure's
it's a new
not
construction.
necessarily coming forward. It's just that the deck itself is gonna end up 1 foot from the property line.
But this is a new construction.
Right.
So- yeah, right, so.
Right. But they're keeping it in line with what else has been constructed. They're not building a house that's like, you know, 3 feet from the property line, and then they want to build a 2-foot deck. That wouldn't make any sense, right? So, no, the footprint.
Well, we were just trying to make sure it wasn't
Yeah, yeah,
impeding
no,
beyond
I
the
understand.
sidewalk.
No, but I
Right.
hope I'm, you know, explaining it clearly. The thing is,
Right.
they're not asking for anything out of variance with the lot coverage or the footprint. What it is basically is, they're needing permission to build the same thing that everybody else has gotten permission to do. Okay? Everybody needs permission to get it. Unless the code was changed, that's how it is.
So
You know?
this variance is just for the 1 foot off, this is just for the deck? To be
Right.
1 foot off the.
Right.
and
Has
that's
nothing
all
to
there
do
is.
with
And
the
just
footprint
to
of the house.
clarify the staircase issue.
What's that?
It's not on my side, I do understand.
Right.
Staircase.
The
Right.
aunt is on the other side, she's
Right.
not gonna be there forever. The concern with a couple of the people that came to
Right.
sign that dropped it off
Right.
and asked us to bring, was that it was going to deteriorate the value of that house next door once the ant moves, because you're impeding on the property line
Well,
and doing
I mean,
that. And
you know,
as far
I
as
don't
the
know,
other
I don't know if
houses
it's
on
gonna
the lot-
necessarily, I'm not a real estate
It's
expert.
also not character with the neighborhood.
I understand.
And as far as other houses on
Yeah.
the block having a side, there's only one, and it's about an 18-inch staircase.
Right.
And that house was when there was, I know from being a
I-
little
no,
girl, when there were only like 6 houses
understand.
on the block. It was
I
built
understand.
in 1910.
I get it, and the thing is
No
is
other
that
house has that. They have the staircases
we-
leading to the front of
we
the
have
house.
allowed unlifted homes, and, listen, this is going back for years. We have allowed staircases, landings,
Right.
that have gone almost to the property line. We have had instances where the fire department, we had someone from the fire department testify that they could bring fire equipment through it, they could go around, they could come
Yeah,
other
that's the
ways.
other issue,
This is
just
something that's been debated many, many times before. Personally, I don't think I like it, but the bottom line is that because I think I made a statement before, I don't want to see queens here, but the thing is that it has been allowed. Everything is ruled on a case-by-case basis. As far as, you know, devaluating homes, I'm not a real estate expert, but I think people will continue to pay top dollar in a beach town, you know, if the houses are attached to each other. I mean, I think that that's not for us to discuss. I don't really
Well, I
think
wouldn't
it's
want
going
a
to
staircase. I wouldn't want a staircase on my
I
property
understand
line
that, but you don't have
when
to buy a
the
house
alleyways
next to
are
that
only
house
4
either.
feet.
You know, I don't want to hear the noise from the plane, so I don't buy a house near JFK, which is where I grew up, you know, so that's the thing. You have to look at what you're buying. But the point is, that's not really, I don't want to veer off the point. The point is that we appreciate that you submitted this.
Yeah,
I'm going to pass it to the other members of the board. Well, you know, that it was handed to us. We're certainly going to hear it. Mr. Cohen made, you know, his typically thorough presentation. At this point, we're going to reserve the vote. We're going to consider all the factors.
Thank you.
We will render a vote, you know, next month. And I think it will be a fair vote because I think we try to go way over and above to, you know, understand everyone's situation.
No, I understand that they want a staircase to the back. I just don't
Okay.
understand why it can't go up the side to the.
I get, we understand. I
It's a new
certainly,
construction. It's not
we
like you're
understand
working
your,
with something
we
that's
understand
freestanding and existing.
your concerns. We're going to address your concerns, and, you know, you've made them clear to us. And I think that now at this point, you know, we're going to see if there's anybody else that wants to make any comments. And then we'll reserve the case open until, you know, voting. Anybody wants to send any other letters? Anybody wants to send anything else? You got pretty much a month to do, okay?
Yeah, I don't know. We were unaware of the letter. We just
Okay,
were
well,
given it
now you
for-
are. And if there's anybody else that you want to talk to in town, we can get it to them. Yes, you would like to come up? All right, thank you.
And just one point of clarification, just so everybody knows, this 1 foot from the property line thing only really applies to the state streets? Just because if you notice the previous case that we had with the deck, it's very specific to that area.
I don't think that it's not what we object to that. When the letter comes in the mail and says they're looking to move a house to a foot away from the sidewalk, it sounds like a
Don't even take
building
that.
was going to be built.
I can't
Folks,
hear either one of them.
folks,
So
listen.
it's hard to understand
Listen,
when
we,
we get
we
that letter
we
at the bottom
appreciate
of
that,
it.
and we certainly want to try to clarify it, but what I don't want is I don't want people shouting back and forth, and, you know, we have to follow the protocol. So,
Now I understand.
please, and we hope we clear it up for you. If you have any questions, certainly, people will always entertain your questions. Your questions are important, they're valuable to us, because you know, we rule on the law,
Where can I look at
but
the
we
plans?
also
Building
need
department.
input from people like you.
If you have any other questions, you didn't understand how we described it, you can go to the building department or anybody who signed that letter, and the plans are there, and you can take a look at them. So,
Yeah, all right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Please, next. Go ahead, give us your name and address, please, for the record.
Give your name and address. You have to give your name and address,
Your
please.
name and address, please.
And I do not.
Ma'am, we can't start unless you give us your name and address.
Anna Macchia,
And your address, ma'am?
Your address,
address
yes.
37 Arizona Avenue.
Okay, please, tell us what you would like us to hear.
I just would like to say that the staircase would not bother me in the least.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now, where are, ma'am, where are you in relation to the subject property, just for the record?
That's my niece.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're the aunt. Okay, thank you very much.
We live next door.
Thank you. All right. So this case will now remain open until, thank you. Let's case.
Case number 3257, application of Dina Lamana of 1060 West Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.5C front yard for a new front yard deck at 1060 West Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as section 58, block 94, lot 27, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Okay, good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is George Bella from GWB Architect, 120 West Park
Tell us,
Avenue.
While you're here now, basically this is a new front yard deck as well. New construction or a lift, or what are we looking at?
So I'm here tonight as the architect for Dina Lamana. She's the owner of 1060 West Park Avenue, and we are here seeking a variance for a front yard setback for a second level deck on the Kentucky Street side of the home, which is the east side. This is a corner property that is on the corner. It's on the southwest intersection of Kentucky and West Park Avenue. The proposed deck is part of a larger renovation that is currently close to completion, and I just want to be clear that that is filed under a separate permit. In regard to the relief that we're seeking, I want to be clear that this request is the same as what would be permitted by right if the project were an elevation project, similar to what you had been speaking about earlier this evening. The deck would extend to within 1 foot of the property line. The columns would extend to within 3 foot of the property line. The request for variances do not cause any undue harm, cause any health, safety, or welfare concerns, nor does it have a negative impact on the surrounding area. It doesn't restrict emergency equipment access or impact the solar rights of others, and for that reason, we are respectfully requesting that this variance be granted. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, George, are there stairs going up to this deck?
There are no stairs to this deck. It is accessed only from the second level habitable space.
Okay. What's the actual dimension of the deck?
The actual dimension, it's 8'10" deep, and it is 21.5½.
So like the width of the house?
It's the width of the house.
All right. For the record, it doesn't extend anywhere past the width of the house?
It does not.
Okay. Any other members of the board?
Just a question, the deck on the side elevation that's recessed into the house?
That deck, that's an existing deck, and you're right, it is. It's recessed into the house. The only scope of work that we're proposing there is to just change the railings to match what the new deck on the east side would be.
Okay, any other questions?
It's not a raise.
No.
It's not a new, but it seems to be in character.
Right in line, absolutely.
Anyone else from the audience want to speak? I'm going to move to grant.
I'll second.
Case number 3257, hold on. Application of Dina Lamana of 1060 West Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.5C front yard for a new front yard deck at 1060 West Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as section 58, block 94, lot 27, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant the application. Commissioner Leonetti has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant.
Commissioner Creighton?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant.
This application has been granted.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Case number 3109, application of Mary Bartholomew of 561 East Hudson Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.7K expanding use for an extension of variance number 3109 for a two-family use at 561 East Hudson Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as section 59, block 166, lot 66, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Your name and address, please.
My name is Mary Bartholomew. My
address is 561 East Hudson Street.
Okay. So basically, at the present time, you have a two-family usage that you've been by a temporary conditional variance, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. How many, is this the first renewal that you're seeking, or?
Yes.
Okay. And how many years did you have it for, just for the record?
I was granted 2 years ago.
Okay. And what was the condition that you presented 2 years ago, why we granted the variances, for the record?
More or less a hardship.
Okay. And has that condition changed at all?
No.
Okay. So basically, have there been any alterations to the home? Have there been any kind of expansions? Have there been anything else that has changed in the situation of what we approved 2 years ago?
No, nothing.
Okay. Any members of the board have any questions? Would anyone like to speak in favor or against? I will move to grant a temporary 2-year conditional variance.
I'll second.
Case number 3109, application of Mary Bartholomew of 561 East Hudson Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.7K expanding use for an extension of variance number 3109 for a two-family use of 561 East Hudson Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 166, Lot 66, on the Nassau County Atlantic Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant a conditional temporary 2-year variance. Commissioner Leonetti has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant.
Commissioner Creighton?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant conditional 2-year variance.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant.
This application has been granted 2-year conditional temporary variance.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Case number 3258, application of Megan Gallagher of 345 East Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-113.2H off-street parking size for new off-street parking in the side yard at 345 East Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 135, Lot 61, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening, folks. Just give us your name and addresses, please, for the record.
Yes, my name is Megan Gallagher, and we live at 345 East Fulton. This is my husband, Adam Schneider.
Hello, Adam. Good evening. Good evening. So, we want to hear a case about an off-street parking on the side yard.
Yes.
My question is, first of all, what's the lot size that you have?
It's 40 by 100.
Okay. Question number 2, do you already have a curb cut there?
We do not.
Okay. Is it a side of the street where people would typically park in front of your house?
Yes, it's,
Okay.
yeah.
So we would be taking away part of that parking to make a curb cut, right? What's the size of the curb cut that you propose?
So the side is 8.05. That's the side, that would be the curb cutout.
Okay. So basically now, the parking spot also that we require would be 9 by 20, as you know.
Yes.
And your parking spot is going to be 8 by 20, so you're a foot in deficiency. So now the question is, where, if I look at the photograph at 545, where would the parking area be
So
relative to this
it would be where those
photograph?
white rocks are. It'd be on the east side of the house.
Okay.
So
So the white
west
rocks
side,
in
sorry.
front of the house, or the white rocks like just to the side?
They're to the side, yeah, it'd be
Okay.
right to the side.
So what is there, like a bush or a couple of bushes or something there? That you would take those out?
Yeah, we would take those out, and we would pave the whole area.
So the car then, to gain the 20 feet, let's say the bumper of the car, would that be going past the front steps, or would that be about even with the front steps
It
to
would be
get the
about
20
even,
feet?
because it says 20 feet, on the other side of the house, it says 20 feet, so it would be about even to the front door.
Okay. So that's why it's only 8 feet, because then basically you're right to the edge of your property, right? Because that property is about 8 feet to the property line?
Yes,
So basically your car door would be like pretty much right up against your neighbor's house, right? The front of it anyway. Like the front fender of the parking spot would be right next to the car. So tell me about the block.
so currently, we are the only house on the block that does not have a curb cutout, or a driveway. It is extremely hard to find parking. I'm due in 2 weeks. We're starting a family. So we just we don't need, but we just need a secure place for our family.
Okay, so every house on that block.
Has a curb cut out with a driveway. We're the only house on the block that does not.
I'm just gonna take a look. Open Google Earth. Google Earth is great, isn't it?
Yes. Our neighbor also that it would be is to my west side. They have a driveway on their west side that is a similar. It's 8 feet as well, so
Okay.
it is similar.
So in other words, Ms. Gallagher, so in other words, your neighbor basically is parking like right up against their neighbor's house too, right?
On the other side, yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna take a quick. Yeah, it certainly is a block full of curb cuts. It's really weird how
It also is
your house was built. It almost looks like your house is like kind of just sandwiched in there. And I'm looking at one house. Yeah, even this other little house that's in, that's just kind of sandwiched in between the houses actually has a driveway too.
There's also a lot of houses on the block that are two-family, so that also draws a lot more cars, meaning that
Yeah.
there's a lot less parking on the block.
Yeah, I noticed one of your neighbors actually, yeah, okay, I see they park right, yeah, they have a curb cut there too. Yeah, honestly, I can verify that your house really looks like the only house on the block that doesn't have a curb cut. It's kind of odd.
Yeah, I did a lot of trips around the block. I looked a bunch of times, but yeah, we are the only house on the block that does not
Okay.
have a curb cut out.
I mean, a foot, I'm more concerned about the length usually in a curb cut than I am about the width because, the curb cut is 96 inches. So, I mean, 96 inches, even considering most cars are like 70, 72 inches wide, 74 inches wide, that's still, 22 inches to swing the door you can get out of the car. I mean, if you backed it in, you could get out on your
On our own side, yeah.
Okay, any members of the board have any questions?
No.
No? Anybody in the audience? No? I'd move to grant this.
Thank you.
Move second.
Anybody want to second it?
Mike's in. Case number 3258, application of Megan Gallagher, 345 East Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-113.2H off-street parking size for new off-street parking in the side yard at 345 East Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 135, Lot 61, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant the application. Commissioner Leonetti has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant.
Commissioner Creighton?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant. My advice to you, though, good luck, folks, by the way. My
Thank you so
advice
much.
would be,
Granted.
you probably would want to just back the car in and keep it closer to your own house. This way, it gives your neighbor a little more breathing room, and you could swing the door out a lot wider, too, right? I mean, and you're on your own property.
Yes,
so.
definitely. Thank you.
All
I
right,
appreciate it.
good
Thank you
luck.
so much.
All right, take care.
Case number 3259, application of Rishi Patel of 79 Ohio Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.5C front yard for a new front yard deck at 79 Ohio Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 58, Block 114, Lot 39, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
All right, sir, you want to just use that microphone over there?
Yeah, sure.
Existing,
Okay.
Sure, thank you.
Are these all the same?
the top one is existing, the second one is proposed.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Chris Dowdell. I'm representing Bobby K. Architects, 45 Commonwealth Boulevard.
Maybe take your mask off since you're right stuff.
Yeah. My name is Chris Dowdell. I'm representing Bobby K. Architects, 45 Commonwealth Boulevard, Belrose Village. And I'm here representing Rishi Patel, the owner of 87 Ohio. Dowdell.
Dowell, right. Okay,
So this,
go ahead.
this property is on the west side of Ohio, and we're about 390 feet south of West Park Street. Right now, there's an existing concrete front patio with some stairs that's 8 foot by 8.5 feet, with an existing front yard setback of 1.5 feet. We propose to demo the existing concrete deck and build a new deck that's 8 feet by 17.5 feet, and then with the stairs, that would be as wide as the house. We'd build it over the existing area and then over the existing driveway as well. It'll be a wood frame with composite decking, PVC railing, and balusters. And we're seeking relief from the front yard setback of 1.8 feet.
Okay, so, I mean, this looks like you're giving us a little bit more setback than typically we've been approving, am I correct? Because
Yeah.
you're giving us the setback of 1.8 feet instead of a foot, and almost 2 feet, and then you're putting the footings in, right, from the...
Yeah, that's why I'm giving some, the 0.8,
So
basically.
you're giving us a little more
Yeah.
than we would typically approve. Any members of the board have any questions? Looks like, it's a nice picture. I mean, it looks like a nice-looking deck.
I do have a question. Are those below it, are those panels or are those windows? Is that going to be living?
They're PVC, not PVC, AZAC panels.
Okay, so
One
that's not going to
panel
be
on the-
like living space, it's just the deck?
Yeah, it's going to
that
be
goes-
all enclosed in one panel. From the driveway side, we're going to make
Okay.
removable so it gets some storage underneath.
Okay, no other questions, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other members? Anybody in favor or against? All right, I'm going to move to grant.
I'll second.
Case number 3259, application of Rishi Patel of 79 Ohio Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.5C front yard for a new front yard deck at 79 Ohio Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 58, Block 114, Lot 39, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant the application. Commissioner Leonetti has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant.
Commissioner Creighton?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli.
Grant.
This application has been granted.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Have a
Done.
great evening.
On the next case, I'm going to recuse myself because I received notice from the city. I'm actually a neighbor on the other side, on the Olive Street side. It looks like I'm behind and maybe a couple of houses over to the east of the subject property in this next application. So I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Leonetti.
I can do it from here, right?
Yeah. Case number 3260, application of David Gross of 545 East Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.2E rear yard for a new rear yard addition at 545 East Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 172, Lot 60, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Have your name and address, please.
My name is David Gross. I live at 545 East Beach Street here in Long Beach. I am seeking at this time a variance from Section 9-105.2 sub E of the Appendix A of the zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach, in that I am seeking a setback. It's required a 20-foot setback. I'm asking for a setback of only 8.5 feet, in that I would like to build a one-story addition to the back of my home for the purposes of having a dining room, so that I can entertain my family and have dinners rather than sitting with plates on our laps in the living room. My apartment is approximately 950 square feet. I've owned the building now for 6 some odd years. I imagine I'm going to live there for quite some time. Unfortunately, it did not come with a dining room. At the time when I moved in, it was just my girlfriend and I, now my fiance. Her 2 adult daughters moved up from the Texas area, and my 2 adult children moved back into Long Beach recently, and I now have a need for a dining room, so maybe I can have some family dinners. That's the only variance I seek. I don't think it's overly obtrusive. I've spoken to many of the neighbors. None have complained about it. I do have a 6-foot fence all around the property. My adjacent neighbors, for the most part, wouldn't even be able to see it. And even my upstairs tenant, I asked her, and she had no objection.
So what, your lot size is what?
My lot size is 40 by 100.
And it's two apartments, one on the ground floor and one above, is that right?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And you said your square footage was how much in your apartment?
My apartment is under 1,000 square feet. It's a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath.
Okay. And the proposed extension, I think you mentioned, is only 1 story.
It's a 1-story extension, that's right, sir.
So the impact on surrounding neighbors would seem to be not that much.
Almost not at all. My adjacent neighbors wouldn't even be able to see it for the most part.
And you're putting a sloped, like a shed roof on it, is that?
Yes, sir.
I understand what he's asking for. Any questions by anybody else on the board? Anybody in the audience like to comment one way or the other? Sorry, Roger.
I'm the only one who's staying out.
Well, you
What
would
is
be
it?
allowed to comment.
554 East Beach?
You would be allowed to comment as a neighbor.
Okay, well, you know, actually, of course, I wasn't gonna mention, I didn't hear the question.
Yeah,
Is
right?
that in the- Put that in the minutes.
Do you have any opinion one way or the other?
Well, the question I have for the applicant would be,
Yeah, it doesn't seem like
how
he's pumping the
far
back out for the next few
is the house going to be extension going to be from the property line?
The requirement is 20 feet, and if I build out 12 feet 6 inches, I'll have 8.5 feet remaining. So I'll have enough room for a small backyard, my barbecue, and maybe a small table and chairs.
I mean, you know, I live, as I said, on the Olive Street side, backyard, not backyard, exactly, it's about 3 houses over. And, I mean, I wouldn't have an objection personally as a citizen, because there are houses on, you know, my block that are certainly in the value of the property. I mean, I don't have an objection.
Thank you. Any other questions by the board? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, Grant.
I'll second.
Case number 3260, application of David Gross of 545 East Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.2E rear yard for new rear yard addition of 545 East Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 172, Lot 60 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Commissioner Olden has introduced a motion to grant the application. Commissioner Brooks has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant.
Commissioner Creighton?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant.
This application has been granted.
Ma'am, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it?
Is that it?
The meeting,
I make a motion to adjourn?
meeting
Question,
No, they're not here anyway.
You know,
So,
as a matter of question,
So does that remain open?
So the applicants have to be here? I mean, I looked at the plans, I would have.
I think, I mean, I don't know, because then there's nobody, you know, there's nobody else.
actually make the formal.
I mean, they could just present the